Dan, we're talking about uh, curses and blessings. This last segment, get a little bit into, because a lot of people have this question: how do we protect ourselves from these curses? Let's take the last segment to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. Before I get into that, I do want to talk just very briefly on ritual. Why ritual is significant.
Okay. Yeah.
We see in Exodus 28:4, God tells Moses to anoint the sons of Aaron, anoint them and fill their hands and consecrate them, says the Greek. The Latin, Jerome's Latin says, anoint or consecrate their hands. The hands of the priest are anointed. That means separated or set apart. And so the whole ideology of ritual is how we engage liturgically. We engage with the cosmos through ritual. And what does ritual bring about? This is going back to a theology of the Old Testament priesthood, which bears into the New Testament theology of priesthood. Ritual brings about four things. It brings about order in the light of chaos, against chaos, holy against the profane, clean from unclean, and life from death. The ritual holds back chaos, the profane, the unclean, and death. These four categories through ritual. And this is why we need our priest. That word holy means to be separated or set apart. What is set apart? Time, space, and status. Time set apart is a liturgical calendar, feasts and holidays. There, and what was the feast day? What was the day of the week that article came out? September 8th, the feast of the birthday of the Blessed Virgin Mary. No coincidence. Cosmically, these guys know what they're doing. What is space set apart? Tabernacle, the temple. Right now we have sacred space. Even that sacred space is separated, even delimited more further with the altar rails in our own churches. And then status set apart through persons, a priestly class set apart to enact these things because their hands are made holy. So that's why we need and use ritual. The demon uses and inspires similar rituals for the opposite, and militates against that through their own rituals, diabolic inversions of these rituals. And so we have to stay protected. Our biggest protection, as you and I have discussed many times, is, and by the way, there is no distinction between white magic and dark magic. Let's be clear, because the lower levels you have, just because you're asking for health or love, you're doing this ritual for to protect you from night. That you put up rituals to protect you from nightmares. So you put the dream catcher in your room. All witchcraft, whether white magic or black magic, has recourse to Satan, according to the Catechism and echoed by Father Gabriel Amorth. And so we have to protect ourselves by staying, number one, in a state of grace. The most important thing is to stay in a state of grace. Now, Jesus also and Jesus also gives us clues into this when the father of the boy who was possessed since infancy. Okay. Why the apostles asked, why couldn't we drive this demon out? And Jesus gives us insights into this type of evil spirit can only come out through prayer and fasting. So fasting and prayer is part of what we need to be doing. Stay in a state of grace, but also engaging in the body. In the old calendar, we have Ember Days. That constantly reminding us. And traditional Catholics don't eat meat on Friday. These are small little fasts. This is why in our protocol, we fast from social media. So fasting takes other forms than just bodily fasting from food or drink. It takes fasting from social media, fasting from the internet, fasting from speech, engaging the body, because these elements of blessings and curses involve bodily rituals. So we have to engage back in the body. So it isn't like we're just going to shield ourselves with our intellects. No, we're going to engage in the body. Saying particular prayers, to me, the biggest devotion to the angels, to your guardian angels, St. Michael's chaplet, praying that chaplet for protection. You're invoking each of the choirs and hierarchies of the angels to come down and engage in combat. Remember, the angels go where they're asked, the demons go where they're not resisted. And so we're trying to provide a shield of protection to the state of grace, invoking our guardian angel, invoking the angels, Saint Michael, devotion to the Blessed Mother. The consecration to the Virgin Mary is the best protection outside of the state of grace. prayer and fasting, devotion to your angels, the best protection you can have is Marian consecration. Get a copy of True Devotion to Mary, St. Louis de Montfort, and follow the prescription and do the Marian consecration. Consecrate all your entire soul, everything to the Blessed Mother according to that formula, and then a daily consecration of your temporal goods, including your family, everything, finances, job, relationships, consecrating all these things in the formula. It's in the prayer. It's in my book, The Deliverance Prayers for the Laity. I'm sorry, the Liber Christo, but also it's right out of Deliverance Prayers for the Laity. Prayer of consecration of your temporal or exterior goods is another one. Use of sacraments and the sacramentals. I mean, in the home, the Epiphany blessing. Going through on a regular basis, the head of household, parents going through and let the Father lead and sprinkle the house with holy water, and ask the Lord's blessing, invoke the Lord's blessing upon this home, blessing your children, confessing, regular confession, confessing any sins, any habitual sins in particular that you're struggling with. These are some of some of the ways that we can just use and tap into the resources of the church to fight against this stuff.
In Dan's book, Liber Christo, and in our new book also, Spiritual Warfare Questions and Answers, which is going to be the textbook for the school that we're starting, by the way, and in Father Chad Ripperger's book as well, there's a prayer. It's called Prayer for Breaking Curses of the Occult, and so. We got to be precise in our prayers. A lot of Catholics, again, we have to be in a state of grace for our prayers to be efficacious. And we also have to be precise in our prayers as well. And so, again, there are prayers against curses. It's found in Dad's book, Liber Christo. It's found in our new book, Spiritual Warfare, Q&A by Tan. And by the way, that's going to be the textbook for the new upcoming school, which is going to be the Holy League Institute. Remember what's important. This is what Protestants don't have. The sacraments and living in a state of grace and having an ordered prayer life, this is what protects us from the effects of curses. But to the extent that we have vulnerabilities in our interior life, the effects of the curse are going to be felt. If you have like unhealthy attachments or defects in virtue, these things can be revealed when curses are done against a person, even in a state of grace, okay? In that case, God will allow the curse to afflict the person for a brief time to help the person to overcome a sin and grow in virtue. This is why we refer to diabolic retaliation as spiritual formation, because it aids our soul to grow in holiness. Dan, we've got 2 minutes. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think another one as well. Again, you're in a state of grace, but if you're filled with fear, and that's what, if you read this article, they're just trying to drive fear and make people fearful. Yeah, right. We have to have peace and hope in Jesus Christ and stay in a state of grace. Get holy, as you say, get holy or die trying. So fear is something that also a high emotionality, which includes fear. Another high, St. Augustine says 3 things attract the demon to us. One of them is an unholy curiosity. So, stay away from this stuff. Number 2 is a high emotionality, an agonizing worry, he says. And so that attracts the demon to us. The third is habitual sin, habitual vices. And so those are 3 things that attract and also would empower, any curses. So staying in a state of grace, a perfect love casts out all fear, trusting in the Lord without falling into fear or worry. And then finally, unforgiveness. And unforgiveness is something that also seems to, at least in our field experience, seems to be help driving the efficacy of some curses.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Erica Kirk sure showed the entire world what forgiveness looks like. And all I can say, I just tip my hat off to that young lady, because I don't know if I possess that type of virtue. If my loved one was shot 10 days ago and I can get up there with a microphone and tell the entire world that I forget my husband's assassin, my hat's off to her. There's a whole lot of prayer power behind her, and even within her own soul, to be able to say something like that, Dan.
If you like the message of Virgin Most Powerful Radio, type in under comments, Jesus is King.